Last night at approximately 11:15 p.m., a young woman was found paralyzed on the floor of this building behind the Belt Pavilion. Now, there seems to be some kind of neurotransmitter involved in this tragic event. However, I quite frankly don't really have any knowledge in that realm and know what's going on. But I can assure you that I was charged with the job to come down and do this investigation and make sure that those that did this to her are brought to justice. However, I will need your knowledge in neuroscience to aid me in this endeavor. And hopefully by the end of the day, we can figure out who did it and bring peace. After my very thorough investigation, I've come up with the fact that I really didn't figure anything out. But I'm not discouraged because we found 5 neurotransmitters present at the scene of the crime. And we believe that one of them is the culprit in this event. Now, like I said before, I'm not really an expert on these kinds of situations. But I'm confident in your ability to look at their testimonies from an objective manner and determine whether or not they're telling the truth and whether or not they were capable of committing this crime. So I'll let you listen to what they have to say, and you can give me a report back and decide who did this so we can bring some justice to this woman.
I know that I'm guilty of directly binding to nicotinic receptors, just like the murderer did. But unlike the murderer, I increased the effects of acetylcholine. The victim was paralyzed, but sadly I'm a stimulant, so I can't paralyze people. I can only increase muscle activity, concentration, memory, and alertness. So if I really wanted to bother someone, I'd cause fatigue and depressed mood after leaving my victim's body. The truth is, I can't really do anything much worse than increasing heart rate and blood pressure a bit. Unless someone becomes addicted to me, I can't do significant damage.
It's true that sometimes I can be a tiny bit harmful to people, but that's usually just because I'm helping them have a little fun. When people use me, they experience euphoria and diminished anxiety, not paralysis. You see, I'm a serotonin agonist. What I do is bind to and reverse the serotonin reuptake pump so that serotonin is being actively pumped out of the presynaptic neuron. This results in a huge shower of serotonin that causes euphoric feelings. If I had tried to hurt the victim, they probably would have just started dancing. They might have some fatigue and dizziness, but definitely not paralysis. If the victim was paralyzed, I'm sure that someone who affects acetylcholine must have been involved.
I cause slow paralysis, whereas other drugs cause paralysis much faster. The victim was paralyzed much faster than I could have ever done. If I was going to commit the crime, I would have caused double vision, but the victim didn't experience this. I would have chosen to get my victim through sneaking into a canned food they were eating, but they hadn't had anything canned lately. I would never directly sit in the seat of acetylcholine, but the real culprit did. I just inhibit the release of acetylcholine by binding to proteins that usually dock it presynaptically. I don't act on the receptor. Instead, I don't let the vesicles release so that acetylcholine can't do its thing.
Although I'm guilty of acting as a direct antagonist, the results of my inhibition would not cause someone to become paralyzed. The truth is that I really enjoyed temporarily preventing adenosine from promoting sleep by occupying its receptor sites. However, that pesky endogenous neurotransmitter always manages to promote sleep. If you look at the facts, you will realize that there must be several of me present to inflict serious harm upon someone. Clearly, there's only one of me here, and I'm not strong enough to win against adenosine. The most I can do is keep someone awake for a few extra hours at night, not make them experience paralysis. If I wanted to cause paralysis, I would do something to the acetylcholine receptor. But because I find more excitement in pepping people up than making them unable to move, I have no reason to tinker with the acetylcholine receptor.
I would never block nicotinic receptors and cause someone to collapse and stop breathing within minutes.
Okay, well, maybe I would. However, it's really unlikely that I would be the killer because I'm created by extraction from several different plants in South America. How on earth would I even have been anywhere near enough the victim to cause death? Unless someone brought me from the hospital with nefarious intentions because I've been used to paralyze patients prior to surgery, which maybe they did. But I do work much faster than Botox, so everything ends much more quickly. So I'm still not as bad, right?
So, my friends, who do you believe is responsible for the paralysis in this neuroscience mystery? Do you think perhaps be Colonel Botox? What about Professor Caffeine? And of course, there's Madame MDMA. But what about Nurse Nicotine? And of course, we cannot forget Miss Curare. Who do you think it is? If you chose Miss Curare, you were correct. Thank you for all your help today. I could not have done it without you.